This month of the How's All That Workin' For You podcast is sponsored by J. Brooks Coffee Roasters in Memphis, Tennessee. Urban Joe is the house favorite at J. Brooks for cold brew coffee. The legendary flavor of Urban Joe will ignite your taste buds with captivating shades of cocoa and cream. With a pleasantly balanced, bold body, the dark roast lover will fall head over heels for this roast. Cold brew is very quick and simple to make. It contains 2/3 less acids than hot brew coffee, so it's a perfect choice for anyone who has reflux or needs a stomach-friendly option for coffee. And if you make cold brew at home, you can make both cold and hot coffee with your solution. Everyone loves an adventure story. Make your day an epic adventure with a steaming cup or cold brew of Urban Joe. To order this signature blend for yourself and learn more about J. Brooks Coffee, click the link in the show notes or visit jbrookscoffeeroasters.com. That's the letter J, brookscoffeeroasters.com. You are officially invited to create some breathing room. This is the absolute best podcast to find the strategies, resources, and motivation you need to stop drowning in overwhelm, break free from hustle culture, and live out your God-given purpose. I'm your host, Rachel Baker, and girl, I've been there, done that. It is my God-given purpose to help you find space for an intentional life so you can confidently live in those strengths, skills, and passions that light you up and serve others. I know you are ready to create some breathing room, so let's do it together. Welcome to episode 20 of Create Some Breathing Room. We are wrapping up this month's theme of how to support our families as we try to do all the things, wear all the hats, keep top priorities at the top, and not get overwhelmed, and still be able to create some breathing room. It sounds like a lot, but we've gone through a lot of strategies and ways to keep it manageable. And I want to wrap it up today with a couple of book recommendations. I'm going to do a couple book reviews. And normally, I like to share a book within our month. This time, I'm going to have two because John Acuff, who, if you've been here long at all, you know I recommend him a lot. Our entire month of hobbies was based on a quote from him. So I want to look at his book, Soundtracks, today. And then a spinoff from that book is Your New Playlist. And that one was actually written with John's two daughters, Ellie and McCrae, and they wrote it together, and it is geared more towards kids. Now, they're both all about positive mindset and how our mindset impacts every other aspect of our lives. So I think they're both awesome to look at. You're going to hear a lot of similar themes, but I think it's great when we can have resources for ourselves and for our kids that are along the same lines. I want to make sure you've got that. So I love both of these books. I've read both of them. My kids have both read Your New Playlist. So we endorse these full on. All right. So I first want to talk about just what these books are about, just kind of summarize them. And then I've got kind of my top 3 points from these all together. So Soundtracks, it's all about mindset. It's about how we can change the stories that we tell ourselves in our heads. This is what John refers to as our soundtracks. And we're going to do that in order to live happier, more fulfilling lives. So this isn't just like constant sunshine and positivity, but just what do you have on replay in your head? Are you repeating positive things to yourself over and over, or do you have some negative things spinning on repeat? So he argues in this book that we do all have negative soundtracks playing in our heads, and they're usually based on like past failures or fears that we have about the future. And having these on repeat in our head can hold us back from pursuing the goals and dreams that we have. Throughout this book, he's offering real practical strategies for how to kind of rewire our soundtracks, right? And this can look like identifying the lies that we tell ourselves and then replacing them with more positive and empowering thoughts. He has several examples of these. Some of my favorite parts of the book, he gives a lot of personal stories, a lot of anecdotes. He's hilarious. And I love hearing him tell them. So I will say I'm not huge on audiobooks. I just really love printed format still. But this was one I did listen to on audiobook, and it was delightful. Highly recommend. It was really good just because he is a gifted speaker. He is hilarious. And so as he's giving all these nuggets of wisdom, all these gold nuggets, he's also doing it in a really fun way and really relatable as well. He's real honest and down to earth. And then also in this, the exercises, all the prompts, those types of things that he provides throughout the book, it really helps you identify and then change your own soundtracks. So it's not just him being like, here's what I've done, or you should try this. It really kind of helps you hone in on what's going on in your own mind and how to make that shift. He also discusses some negative narratives we create about other people and how that can kind of impact our relationships with people. So that's a really interesting piece as well. I got a couple favorite quotes. I mean, I could like the whole book, really just read the book, but a couple things I love. He says, the stories we tell ourselves have a profound impact on how we experience the world. Absolutely. He also says you can't control the thoughts that pop into your head, but you can control which ones you listen to. And I think that is a huge realization that some of us just think, well, that's just what's in my head. I can't get rid of it. Right. It's there, but you can, he talks about turning down the volume on those types of soundtracks. And we want to turn up the knob on the positive ones. So the last one from this book that I love, he says, the most important soundtrack you'll ever change is the one in your own head. Love it. Absolutely. This book really has helped me to identify some of those more negative soundtracks that I have. You know, when I have a bunch of chronic health stuff going on, my body is worn out, I'm in a lot of pain, if all that's going on and I can't get up and get a lot of work done, you know, I'm pushing through it just isn't really an option. It's easy to be like, oh, you are worthless. You are lazy. None of those things are helpful. None of that is helpful to anybody. It just spirals me down even further. So whenever they do come in, catching it, identifying it, turning down the volume on that garbage, and coming up with something more positive to replace it. So in those moments, my body needs to rest. My body needs to heal. And that's okay. It's okay to rest and heal. Healing my body allows me to show up as a better version of myself later. Isn't that so much better than what I was saying before? Just those simple practices. Take a moment, and what are some of those soundtracks that you have in your head that you are keeping on repeat instead of catching them, turning them down, and replacing them with something more positive? Hey, it's Rachel, your go-to encourager and coach. I know you love our podcast talks, but imagine taking that connection to the next level in person. I'm more than a clarity coach. I'm someone who's been in the trenches, juggling all the things. I get it. I've danced with chaos, overloaded schedules, and the struggle to prioritize self-care. But I found the rhythm. And I've got the strategies to help your ladies create some breathing room. So if you're organizing an event, whether it's a conference, church gathering, or retreat, and you want a speaker who brings humor, real talk, and a dose of inspiration, I'm your girl. Let's chat about making your event a memorable one. Visit racheldbaker.com/speaking. That's racheldbaker.com/speaking. I can't wait to connect. So before we go into kind of my top 3 points, I do want to look at a little bit your new playlist. So this, after soundtracks came out, a lot of people, myself included, were like, hey, John, can we get a version of this for the kids? Because I wish I had known this when I was younger. This is so great. What a great concept. And he was like, okay. He's got 2 teenage daughters, Ellie and McCrae. They're fantastic. Your new playlist is pretty much the same thing as soundtracks, but it is written with the girls, mostly by the girls, to help these students, right, these readers, overcome fear and anxiety, trying to improve their mental health. And it talks more in their lingo. If that's the least cool thing I've ever said, so be it. But it's written more towards them and talks about creating a new playlist of positive and uplifting songs to kind of help change your mood and mindset. And so the girls throughout this book are providing practical tips and exercises to help the kids reading to identify and change their negative thought patterns and replace them with positive ones. There's a lot on the importance of self-care, a lot about taking care of your physical and mental health. And the girls share a lot of their own personal stories and experiences and how something happened and they had this negative thought and mindset about it, but they caught it, turned it down, and replaced it with something else and the difference that made. So it's just a lot of practical, relatable things that I think a lot of teens would benefit from. One of my favorite quotes from this one says, "Your emotions will follow the path of your attention." Listen, how good is that coming from a book for teenagers? I just thought that was so good. Your emotions will follow the path of your attention. That's just kind of a summary of both of those books. And I've got 3 kind of main points that I want to make sure you know about. So you can take that away today and kind of chew on it for a little bit, but also just to encourage you to go and read these books. They're so good. So the first thing I want to address, they talk about how to identify and rewire those negative soundtracks. And this, to me, this is scriptural. Okay. 2 Corinthians 10:5 talks about it, says we take captive every thought, right? So we know this is something we are capable of doing. Both of the books offer strategies for identifying the negative thought patterns and then replacing them with positive ones. And this can be super helpful if you are feeling overwhelmed or if you feel like you're stuck in those negative thought patterns that are holding you back. So if you are intentionally rewiring your soundtracks, you can then create more positive ones, a more empowering inner dialogue that's going to support you as you are trying to reach certain goals, right? Obviously, those negative ones aren't going to get you where you want to go. The positive ones are. So I love just that idea of identify it and rewire it. The second one is this idea to create a playlist of uplifting songs, right? So in your new playlist, they talk more about this one, and they actually suggest creating a playlist of just these positive, uplifting songs that can kind of change your mood and shift your mindset. And again, this is super helpful if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you need a boost. Music has always had a very powerful place in my life, and I have noticed over the last few years, I've not been utilizing it as much as I used to. I used to, in a funk, turn on some music. In a bad mood, turn on some music. What could make me feel better? And that has not been a go-to for me. I don't know if I went through too many years of napping children where I couldn't utilize that anymore. But this was something that really resonated. Yes, I need to get back into that, because when you intentionally choose songs that inspire you and motivate you, you have then the control to create a more positive and energizing environment for yourself. So that's just a little piece of control that we have we're not always utilizing. I just needed that reminder. Maybe you did too. And then the last one from both of these, they both kind of touch on practicing self-care. And here in our community, I'm going to remind you, self-care is not selfish, right? We take care of ourselves so that we can show up as the best version of ourselves to serve others. We've talked about this a lot in other episodes, and we can link a couple of those in the show notes below if you want to go back and listen. But both of these books really emphasize the importance of self-care, taking care of your physical health and your mental health. These are things, this is exercise. This could be meditation or just getting outside in nature. I do not always love being outside, but I have noticed when I'm out in nature, there is just that connection piece to God. I love being out and feeling his presence around me. And for whatever reason, being out in his creation makes me feel a little closer. So if that's true for you as well, get outside. Again, we talk a lot here about feeling overwhelmed. So when you are feeling overwhelmed, taking that time for yourself, creating some breathing room, right? This is what we're all about. And practicing some self-care, that can be a moment of breathing room that we need. This is an important piece of all of this. Taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, the self-care matters. But it can also provide that mental clarity that we need to create intentional breathing room in different ways, right? When we prioritize our own well-being, we can better manage our stress levels. And that's a big deal. We're able to be more proactive instead of always feeling like we have to be reactive. So as we wrap up today, I just want you to hear the thoughts that we allow to live rent-free in our heads have such a huge impact on our well-being and our daily life. Identify and rewire those negative soundtracks. Create your own playlist of positive songs, the ones that make you feel good, and practice self-care. And remember, it's not selfish. And if this is something that you need a little more encouragement, if you need somebody to walk this road with you, you need some accountability, I am here for that. I would love to have that conversation with you and see what that could look like. Grab a free coffee chat. We will just get together. If you're local, it can be in person. And if you're not, Zoom is our best friend. We will get together, chat it out. It's free. And see if there is a way we can go on this journey together. Thanks so much for listening today. Be sure to check the show notes to get links for all the resources mentioned in this episode. As always, your reviews make such a difference, so thank you for taking the time to leave those for us. Your ratings and thoughts mean so much. I love reading each and every one. As we wrap up today, please remember, life can feel crazy and overwhelming sometimes, but you will never regret taking the time to create some breathing room.